How's it going, Football Daily family, and welcome back to Sunday Vibes, our Q&A show. As usual, Patrick Van Straten and Christopher Specky Hamill are in the hot seats. You've provided the Qs, we're going to be providing the As. The first one comes from Bob Mitre, great name, best balls ever. Is Serie A a dead league? Patrick Van Straten.
Oh, it's a strong question.
Great question.
This is something that's been going around for a while, right? Kind of the perception of Serie A is that it's really defensive, that nobody scores, that there aren't really any stars, there aren't great managers, and some of that is kind of true. And there are fewer goals scored. You see far fewer in Serie A every week than you do in the Premier League, the Champions League, La Liga, and the Bundesliga. Yeah. So I do kind of see what they're saying.
Yeah, 5 league titles on the bounce now for Juventus, Christoph. Is it the fact that Juventus is so successful that people think they're killing that league off?
Yeah, they certainly have a stranglehold over it, don't they, mate? Like, I actually thought last season was quite eventful. So you've got the likes of Gigi Buffon smashing the clean sheets record. You've got Higuain scoring 36 goals. Yeah. So there's some nice narratives there, like Sassuolo finishing above AC Milan to clinch European football. Yeah. That's a lovely underdog story. You know, we championed Leicester the whole of last season, well, most of us anyway. Not you guys.
Not us.
If Roma can get a title challenge, if they can get the ball rolling,
though, is it?
If they can get the ball rolling, that'll be really exciting. I mean, they're great to watch at the minute. They're averaging 19 shots a game.
Wow.
Dzeko's already on 10 goals. You just need someone to really step up and challenge Juve. It's not their fault, they're the top dogs.
And we've heard managers like Jose Mourinho said that he'd be willing to go back to Serie A.
Yes.
Diego Simeone said that he'd like to manage Inter one day. If that happens and those managers go, then stars will follow them. So I don't think it's dead, but it might be a little bit kind of dormant at the moment.
Yeah, there's also some of the best talent, young talent in world football in my opinion. You've got the likes of Donnarumma over there, you've got Paulo Dybala, Locatelli, you've also got some more older names, the likes of Pjanic, Paul Pogba as well, world's most expensive player, honed his skill in Italy. So to completely write it off would be a bit unfair, wouldn't it?
Well, they're the big names. You look at the league and they're producing really good players sort of in the midst of that league too. You have the likes of Vasquez going to Sevilla. He looks like a quality acquisition for Sampaoli. Yeah. You've got Pereira, who's doing really, really well at Watford after sort of
fantasy team
failing at Juventus. Listen, Juventus won the league by 9 points, but the competition for second and third was exciting, a bit of a drop off to fourth.
Yeah, I think the Gonzalo Higuain transfer in particular has got quite a lot of people up in arms, obviously moving from Napoli to Juventus. I think people are kind of using that to say, well, this is the prime example of Juventus winning the league. But Bayern Munich have been doing it for years, Pato. So.
Well, yeah, they have been. And also, this might be a short-lived problem. So the argument has always been that Juve have a lot more money than everybody else, and therefore they can afford to just buy up the best players from around the league. Yeah. But now we've seen big takeovers at Inter Milan and AC Milan.
Very good point.
And so if they kind of regain their financial power within the league, then they'll probably regain some standing in Europe as well. Plus, they do still have a draw worldwide. They still have huge fan bases in the Far East and in the USA.
True, but what do you guys at home think? Are Juventus killing Serie A? You can vote in the poll up there right now. Our next question is from YouTube. It comes from D Bands. It's actually a great question. If you had to take away one of the starters from the team you support, who would you sell and why, lads? I'm coming to you first, Patrick Van Straten. If you don't say Olivier Giroud, I'm not happy.
Well, you're a moron, mate. It would definitely be Francis Coquelin,
What?
I think. The thing about Coquelin is that he is a bit of a safety blanket for Wenger. Wenger seems to always, if he can, go back to this Santi Cazorla and Coquelin midfield.
He's a younger Flamini.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I'm fine with having that on your bench, you know, like if you need to close out a game. Yeah. My issue with him is when Wenger wants to start him all the time and he seems a little bit too scared to start Xhaka, and I think that a Xhaka-Ramsey midfield or a Xhaka-Santi midfield has a much higher ceiling than a midfield containing Coquelin. So I think get rid of him. Wenger doesn't have that option anymore, and we actually get the midfield that we
sell him to City.
What, Coquelin to City?
Do a little job.
I'm sure they'd love him.
Do a little job for Pep. And to you, Christoph, same question, mate. Come on then, same question.
Mate, I would drive Effie Ambrose to a club who'd be willing to play him.
Nobody wants him, mate.
But funnily enough, figures of £40 million have been bandied about for Moussa Dembele this week.
That is madness.
Which is absolute madness. I can't see Celtic turning down a bid of that size. So if someone was to come in, I think with even half that next summer, we'd struggle to keep hold of him. He gets better every time I watch him. He's really stepped up on the European stage. He's obviously killing it on the domestic stage, which you'd expect a half-decent striker to do anyway. But mate, a little bit of a boring answer. I'd say one of our defensive midfielders, near Biton. We've got plenty of them. They can.
Yeah.
Back on the point about Moussa Dembele, why would somebody offer 40 million when you're known for selling for 15?
I think you'll start to see the fees for our players rise after the players we've been churning out for the last 3 or 4 years. You look at the likes of Victor Wanyama, Virgil van Dijk, Ki Sung-young, Fraser Forster, they're all worth substantially more the year after than the fee we've sold them for.
Yeah, I would have to go Man United, a right back situation. Somebody needs to go. Valencia or
More so than Rojo?
More so than Rojo. Marcos Rojo is not a starter, and he's shit. Don't get me wrong, abysmally bad, but he's not a starter in this Manchester United
But
team.
you've got two poor right backs. Your solution is to sell one of them and then have one poor right back.
Okay, so if you can't sell a right back
great
and you have to bring in the other right back because Darmian's equally as bad, I'd sell Zlatan.
So's his lamb chops, mate.
He
I'd
sells
sell
Zlatan.
35 years old.
He's gone after
potentially blocking the
Joe,
progression of Martial and
he's going for a
Rashford.
dry patch. I thought you were raving about him 3 months ago.
Yeah, 100%. But also, the rest of our team, I think, is extremely strong and not very old either. You look at the likes of Smalling, sort of
Carrot,
8th place.
Rooney.
Not talking Carrot, talking the likes of De Gea, Shaw, Herrera, Pogba.
Sure.
You've got Memphis, can't even get in the squad. Mkhitaryan,
Christ,
can't get
I
a
forgot
game.
Memphis existed.
So I think potentially if you moved Martial off that left flank and you played as a number 9,
Free
or maybe
Mkhitaryan.
Marcus Rashford as a number 9, then you've got extra space for the likes of
two
Mkhitaryan.
number 9s.
I've said
18s
for a
up
long
front.
time I want to see 2 strikers at Man United. That is the Manchester United way. Cole and York.
Joe in the
Sheringham,
office. 2 strikers,
Solskjaer.
2 wingers.
It's the 2001
flying
way.
wingers.
mate.
I want to see 2 strikers at Man United. Leicester did it last season
Fair
very
enough.
successfully, didn't they? 4-4-2.
Fair enough.
So let's bring it back at Manchester United. On the topic of our own clubs, lads, a great question here from Luca Lariashvili. Fantastic name. He asks,
Mouthful. That's good, eh?
why and when did you start rooting for your favourite club? Christoph, Celtic. Talk to me.
It's a family curse, mate. It's from the old man. It's
Really
passed
bad
down
curse.
from generation to generation, consigning me to watching shit football week in, week out. Do love the away days to Ross County and Inverness, but
Don't pretend you
no,
don't.
we live for European football as a Celtic fan.
Pato,
Cheers,
same
Dad.
question to you, mate. Arsenal.
Nobody in my family gives a shit about football. Like, they really don't.
Maverick.
Like, my dad hates football, but actually I had 2 guitar teachers when I was 5, and they were both Gooners. And so when I got into football, they were just like, "You're gonna be an Arsenal
Mate, so
fan."
strumming got you into football essentially.
Can you play the
On
guitar?
Sunday
Strumming over men.
Seriously
Nice.
though, can you play the guitar?
I'm not great anymore.
Coming next Sunday.
Because
Patrick
we've got a
Van
guitar right here.
Unbelievable.
I've
Unbelievable.
got no excuse, really. Manchester United, the prime reason is because they were just always on the TV. There was no local club for me that was in a top tier around Exeter from where I'm from, so Man United were always on the telly. So
It's hard to glory hunt in
it was
Exeter, is what
basically
you're
really,
saying.
really hard
What about
to glory
Scholesy,
hunt.
mate? I
So-
thought that was your
Yeah, Paul
rationale.
Scholes as well.
Yeah.
A bit of an icon for me, bit of an idol. Obviously, Copperhead central midfielder like I
Inspired
was.
Joe
So
past the bullying.
Scholesy
Gingers
is
on TV.
Part of that reason. Another question on the same sort of topic here from Nate1407 MSP. He says, if the club
Catchy.
you
Made up name,
support didn't exist, what club would you support? I would have to go for Tottenham Hotspur.
Really? Why is that?
My dad's side of the family are massive Spurs fans.
Are they
But
really?
my dad just didn't. Not the biggest. Scum.
Scum.
Just unbelievable. Isn't
BBS
it?
has lost
Never met
it,
them. Never met them or anything. That's personal. I find that offensive. Yeah.
Shut the set down. We're
Tottenham-
going outside.
Tottenham Hotspur. Pato, where are you?
I've always had a soft spot for Athletic Club in
you not
Bilbao.
You've got roots in Spain, haven't you?
I was born in Spain.
Yeah.
But I was technically born in like the Valencian community, so I should
Right.
support Valencia, but they're too much of a basket case even for an Arsenal family.
Fair enough. Christoph,
Already killed 2 birds with 1 stone, didn't we? Leicester.
Leicester
Hometown
City, of
club.
course, who you supported mysteriously last season for the whole
No,
time we were in
obviously,
the office.
obviously champion them on.
We may as well go to a question from Nazek with 2 Ks.
May as
He
well.
says, what do you guys think about Coutinho? Is he world class? And if not, how far off is he? Is he as good as people like Ozil? 3 questions in there, Nazek. Don't be
Greedy.
so greedy.
One at a time, is that, mate?
One at a
Honestly.
time, but
Give
seriously,
people an inch.
I'm not convinced by him. I think he's a fantastically gifted
I
player with
love
the ball
him.
at his feet.
Absolutely love him.
Brilliant playmaker, but shoots way too often for me. Way too often. Prime example of a match of the day player. 8 goals, 5 assists in the league last season. Not elite numbers, Patrick.
I don't think he's at the level of
He's
somebody
nearly there,
like
though.
Ozil
Nearly.
yet, but I do think he's incredibly talented and he
Yeah.
has other abilities that someone like Ozil doesn't. So, for instance, he's more dynamic, he's more of a dribbler. I agree with you that he shoots way too much.
Way too much.
He's obviously got an eye for goal from long range, but he's shooting 3 times a game from outside the box. He did that last season, he's doing that this season. Now sometimes those will go in and you'll look like the greatest player in the world, but they can't go in all season. And I also wonder if sometimes you're just giving up promising attacks.
Yeah.
Liverpool are constructed in such a way that you've constantly got options bombing forward. And I want him to use his creativity. The reason he frustrates me so much is because I think he's so talented. And then instead of playing the pass, instead of playing the killer ball, looking up, getting his head up, he just tries to bang one in the top corner. And I think he could use his talent a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree with you. Christoph, what's your thoughts, mate?
Well, I think, as you alluded to, last season he wasn't quite up in comparison to players such as Ozil, who got 6 goals, 19 assists. He wasn't quite at Payet's level, even with 9 goals, 12 assists. But this season, he's got 4 goals and 4 assists in 10 games. And what you're seeing, I think, is a much more mature Coutinho, now that Klopp's been there for longer than a season. And that fluid front three that everybody's raving about really rely on him. He's what makes them tick with those diagonal balls through the lines. I love him, and long may those howitzers continue, to be perfectly honest, because I absolutely
Interesting.
I adored him.
I always see him linked to Barcelona, and I just think as soon as he entered the door at the Camp Nou, Luis Enrique would go, right, no shots past 18 yards, and that would completely shut off about 40%
all about
of
the
his
extra
game.
ball.
That might be a good thing for him, because we've seen him got magic in those feet. He plays a brilliant final ball, great weight to a pass, and if you cut that long shot bollocks out of his game, took more shots last season than Sergio Aguero. If you cut that out of his game, I think he might be an even better player, but he's still only 24. Maybe that move could come, but let us know what you think, actually. Is he good enough to go to a club like Barcelona, and is he world class? Let us know in the comments below.
It is freezing in here, by the way.
So cold.
It's freezing.
May as well stay in the Premier League now then. Great question here from Zaid. It's actually a video. Let's hit play.
My question for you is, who do you think is the strongest team in the Premier League, and who do you think will win the Premier League?
Well, I think Man City is the obvious answer, but in recent weeks, Chelsea, as they reverted to that back three, have looked incredible and able to adapt to any sort of situation. I think they played with like a false rhythm against Southampton. They let them play and then sort of launched these counter-attacks. That was a little one for you, mate. Launched these counter-attacks in the likes of Victor Moses, who is a completely different player this season under Conte. He's so athletic, so powerful. And you have the slightly more cultured Alonso in that left-back berth. Eden Hazard, because Alonso does extraordinary amounts of work, Eden Hazard and Nemanja Matic comes over and covers that space. Eden Hazard is actually left further up the pitch, and I just think it's working. They're ticking. Costa's on 40 goals in 64 games. It's all looking rosy for Conte's men. I'd love to see them challenge City, because they could run away with it if they get a good run.
Yeah, Pato, what do you reckon, mate?
City are the best side in the league, and I think City will win the league.
Whoa, simple from Van Straten. I think don't discount Arsenal this season. I think they've got a lot of different strings to their bow, which they haven't had in previous seasons. I don't think they've had the likes of Giroud and Alexis Sanchez and Perez in different positions. I think Mustafi's added a potential another option in defence.
Are you feeling all right?
I never thought I'd say this, but I'm actually quite enjoying listening to Joe speak.
Probably the best defender in the league. I mean, he's given away 2 fouls this season. We're filming this on a Thursday, so he's probably committed a foul on the weekend's game. Actually, it isn't.
Don't give away when we film this. This is called Sunday Vibes.
It'll be them, City and Chelsea. Chelsea without European football, I agree with you, is going to be a massive positive for them. And they'll push City very close. But Arsenal, they're being written off a little bit because of past failures. I don't think it should be happening.
Let's see how this November goes.
Yeah, give them November. If they beat Spurs and they beat Manchester United, they're right in this.
That Ludogorets victory, don't underestimate how that could affect their mentality. Do you not think?
100%.
Well, that is the sort of game that in previous years you just think, oh, this is a write-off, you know. and the same as the Sunderland game as well. Like as soon as they equalise, you're like, oh Jesus Christ, here it comes again. But actually, I was pleasantly surprised on both occasions. So who knows? Like maybe there's something there. But I'm keeping expectations low.
You never know. Right, we come to our final section now. It's a new one. This is our bullshit punditry of the week.
Ooh, catchy.
Insert graphics, flames, bombs.
Catchy stuff. This one comes from Alan Shearer.
Oh, yay.
Who says this week that Aguero is the only world-class player in the Premier League. The only one.
Classic, overly cynical, match of the day bullshit.
Talk to me, mate.
Oh, he's an idiot. I mean, Alan Shearer's an idiot. He always has been an idiot. He was a phenomenal player. Let's not tear that down. But
track from that, yeah.
He's a moron. He's a simpleton.
Straight for the jugular.
I really don't understand this view at all. Like, how good does a world-class player have to be? One of the 2 or 3 best in the world in their position?
Yeah.
Well, in that case, David De Gea is clearly world-class.
100%.
Ozil, De Bruyne, Hazard, Sanchez. You could go on and on and on.
Costa, Harry Kane, Sturridge.
There are these fantastic players in the Premier League, and I just think that this is classic, like, kind of whining from Shearer about like how great things were back in the day. What, when he played with Norberto Solano? Shut up, Alan Shearer. You're a moron.
Wow. strong views from Patrick Van Straten. But anyway, that's all we've got time for on today's Sunday Vibes. I hope you're having a good Sunday at home, by the way, watching this, chilling out.
Vibing Arsenal in the derby.
Come on, Arsenal, he says. Thanks very much to Patrick Van Straten for joining me.
You're welcome.
Christopher Hamill for joining me. Get your questions in the comments below for next week's episodes using the hashtag Sunday Vibes.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed for a good Arsenal versus Tottenham fixture today, and we'll catch you next week.